Okay, so get this. I had to rent a van, right, for a move. And man, it really got me thinking about those folks behind the counter at rental places, you know? Like, what's their average day actually like? What kind of skills do they need to have? Turns out it's way more interesting than you might think at first. So today we're going to do a deep dive on being a rental service representative, specifically in like recreational and sports goods. And we've got some really cool resources from RoleCatcher to help us out. We've got their career guide, which is super in-depth. And get this, we're also going to be looking at their AI job search platform. It's going to be fascinating.
It really is. Most people think rental service representatives just like hand out gear. But the guide actually paints a much more, I guess you could say, complex picture.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I glanced at it and saw renting out equipment, and I was like, okay, seems pretty straightforward. But then, bam, they hit you with determining periods of usage, documenting transactions, insurances, and payments. It's suddenly not just about handing someone a basketball.
Exactly, exactly. Like, let's just say someone comes in to rent a jet ski. Okay, you've got your standard rental agreement, sure. But then there's also insurance to think about. What happens if that jet ski gets damaged, right? That rental service representative needs to know how to handle the insurance claim, assess the damage, and, potentially even deal with customer disputes. It's a lot more than meets the eye, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
and that's before you even factor in dealing with, the actual customers, which, let's be real, can be a total wild card. The guide talks about the potential for demanding customers and even some back and forth over rental prices or if something's available. It's not always going to be smooth sailing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the guide is really upfront about both the pros and cons, which I appreciate. On the plus side, you often have a pretty flexible work schedule. And hey, if someone loves sports or being outdoors, being surrounded by that gear all day could definitely be a perk. But it can also be physically demanding. Seasonal work is common. And as you said, the customer service aspect can definitely be unpredictable.
For sure. And you know what's interesting? This whole thing, it's not just limited to sports equipment, which I thought was cool. They've got this whole alternative titles section, and it's wild. We're talking trucks, construction equipment. They even mentioned videotapes and discs. Apparently, those are still out there.
You know what's fascinating to me? It's how the core skills of the job actually translate across all those different areas. Think about it. You're managing inventory, you're making sure the equipment is safe and in good condition, and of course, you're handling agreements and processing payments, whether it's a kayak or like a jackhammer.
Right, right. So someone could, like, start their career renting out camping gear
Hmm.
and then end up managing rentals for a construction company. That's a career path I never would have thought of. And speaking of unexpected career paths, one thing that really stuck out to me in this guide was that it doesn't just describe the job, it actually outlines potential career progression too, which I thought was really cool. It's like they mapped out levels in a video game, but for your career.
Right.
You know, they break it down into entry level, junior, senior roles. Each one has like a clear set of responsibilities. They even have a hypothetical profile for each level, which I thought was a nice touch.
It is really smart. It really gives you a way to visualize how you could actually grow in this job.
Mhm.
So, like at the entry level, you're mainly focused on, customer interaction, explaining the rental terms, showing people how to use the equipment safely, making sure everything's good working order, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But then
yeah. Yeah.
as you move up to like a junior or senior role, things start to change a bit, right?
Definitely. It becomes less about like those individual transactions,
Yeah.
and more about, I guess, the bigger picture.
Right.
For example, they describe a senior rental service representative. This person would be supervising staff, analyzing rental data to like predict demand. They'd be adjusting inventory, even coordinating with vendors for maintenance and repairs and stuff. It's almost like they're running their own mini business, within the larger company.
Wow. That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
It really drives home the point that this isn't just like a side gig or something. You could actually build a real career out of this.
Absolutely. And the guide even touches on that. They mention potential salary increases and even opportunities for leadership positions as you get more experience. It's about realizing that the skills you learn in this job are valuable and they can open some doors for you down the line.
I like that. Speaking of skills, I was super impressed by how detailed the guide gets in those skills and knowledge sections. It's not just about knowing how to, like, fix a flat tire on a bike, though that would be helpful, I'm sure. They go into things like customer service, administrative skills, even a bit of financial literacy, and even some light marketing if you're the one, promoting special deals or packages.
And those are all transferable skills, which is huge. Like, if you can explain all the different features of various kayak models to a bunch of first-time renters, and you can do it calmly and effectively, you're showing off your communication skills, your product knowledge, and even your ability to adapt your approach to different types of learners. Those skills are valuable everywhere, not just in a rental job.
So true. And remember that related career section we talked about earlier. The guide actually gives examples of career transitions people have made, like going from renting out sports gear to managing rentals for a construction company or something. It's like they're saying, hey, we see you've got these skills, and here's some other ways you could use them.
Yeah, it's about connecting those dots, for sure. And then realizing that your skills might be able to open some doors you hadn't even considered.
Right.
And speaking of opening doors and, expanding what's possible, that's where RoleCatcher's AI platform comes in. It's really cool stuff.
So we've talked about the skills you need to be a rental service representative.
Right.
But what blows me away is that RoleCatcher. They aren't just, telling us about the job. They're actually using AI to help people get these jobs.
Well, I know. It's pretty amazing. Their platform analyzes your skills. Then it suggests ways to improve your applications. It even helps you practice for interviews.
It's like you've got a career coach in your pocket. Can you give us an example of how it works?
Yeah, for sure. Let's say you're applying for a rental service representative position, and this one requires experience with inventory management software, right? But you've only ever used that type of software on, a really basic level. Well, RoleCatcher's AI might suggest some online courses you could take, or even some certifications, things that would strengthen that particular skill on your resume and make your application more competitive.
That makes sense. So it's not just matching keywords, which is what I thought at first.
Yep.
It's about understanding what skills you might be missing and then helping you fill that gap.
Exactly. And even when it comes to interview prep, RoleCatcher's AI is super helpful. It analyzes your practice responses and gives you feedback on how fast you're talking, your tone of voice, even the actual content of your answers. It's wild.
That's like having a personal coach helping you get ready for that interview.
Totally.
And what's cool? You don't even have to be looking for a rental job to get something out of this.
Right?
These RoleCatcher AI tools could be helpful for anyone, no matter what kind of job they're looking for, right?
For sure. The job market is really competitive these days. Having an AI that can help you figure out what your skills are and then highlight the ones that could transfer to other jobs. It can help you improve your resume and cover letter and then even ace the interview. I mean, that's a game changer for sure.
Totally. So I think if we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the world of rental service, the thing I'm walking away with is that there's just so much more to it than I ever realized. We uncovered some hidden skills, some career paths I would have never thought of, and we even got to see all the cool ways that AI is changing how people find jobs these days.
It really makes you think.
It does.
We started with this job that seemed, kind of simple on the surface, but we found all this potential.
I know, right?
I think it just shows you, no matter what you're interested in, there's always something new to learn.
For sure.
And the skills you learn in one area of your life, they can often be applied in other areas, sometimes in really unexpected and interesting ways.
It's all connected. And it makes me wonder, what about our listeners? As you're thinking about your own career, what skills have you developed that you maybe don't even realize are valuable?
That's a good question.
And how could using something like RoleCatcher's AI platform help you take those skills even further? Maybe open some doors you didn't even know existed. That's something to think about for sure.
Absolutely. It's a question we should all be asking ourselves, especially with how much the job market is changing these days.
Couldn't agree more.